Ignore the noise. The price of gold and silver will be markedly higher, in my opinion, by the end of this year. And I don't think you've seen anything yet. The election, all of that stuff is meaningless. The trend for much higher prices in gold and silver is firmly intact.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with the Miles Franklin Market Update with Andy Schectman, the weekly market update we have with our president of Miles Franklin. Andy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Elijah, lots going on. Nice to see you, and I look forward to these every week. Glad to be back.
Definitely, I do too. And the first topic I'd like to discuss before we do, so we're going to get into the U.S. Mint hiking prices for collector silver products that they have. But before we do, just kind of a clarification from last week. We were talking about the JP Morgan spoofing on metals and other markets, and the fine with respect to that being almost $1 billion, 920 million. Kind of a clarification on the fine relating to how much they make. There was some confusion in the comments with respect to that.
I noticed the viewer's comment, and I kind of got a chuckle over that, Elijah. And that's why I used the phrase like $1 billion a day, because quite frankly, any company that makes $150 million a day in profit, that's like $1 billion a day, tongue in cheek. I mean, that's more money than most people make in a lifetime, and they're making in one day. And so the point of it is, yes, I guess I should have been more specific. I don't make a habit of keeping track of JP Morgan's financials, just knowing that they make billions and billions of dollars per year in profit. And so the point here is, I understand what the listener is saying. It wasn't exact. It was overstated. But I guess the point I was simply trying to make by saying like $1 billion a day is that the amount of money that they make per day and per year makes a fine like that laughable. The monetary implications to a company like JP Morgan, it is completely and totally laughable when only in 5 or 6 trading days they are able to recoup that slap on the wrist. The more important takeaway from that is the light being shown upon the manipulation, shown upon the manipulative practices of the commercial banks. And maybe because of the delayed prosecutorial agreement, just maybe we will somewhat see a semblance of somewhat of a more freely traded market. Now, part of me doesn't really believe that. Part of me is hoping that. But little by little, when you get a light shown upon markets that aren't free, it will hopefully, if nothing else, entice the free market to try to overwhelm the capabilities of the manipulators. Because I truly do believe the only way to manipulate a market successfully over a period of time, Elijah, is to push it in the direction that it is going. And maybe that's why you're seeing some of the big money, the hedge funds and the private family offices and the sovereign wealth funds pulling their money off of the exchange, because they're like, you know what? The jig is almost up here. This is a rigged game. This is a flawed system. Let's pull our money off. And what we're seeing in redemptions on COMEX, Elijah, from month to month are as much as we've seen in years. 1 month of redemptions and pulling metal off the exchange is what we've seen before in a whole year. Those are sophisticated, high net worth people who are saying, I want out of this ecosystem because it's not real. And so let's just hope that these fines, the admission of guilt, the light shown upon by the Justice Department on this whole arena will, if nothing else, enable the market to somehow, some way, trade in a more free capacity. That's what I meant to say.
Moving now to viewers' questions, we had quite a lot of viewers ask about the U.S. Mint hiking prices for collector silver coins. Now, the U.S. Mint announced they're doing this because of higher costs nowadays. So they're hiking the prices of not like the normal silver eagles you'd get in the tube or the monster box, but the collector versions of silver eagles and also some other silver collector coins that they make. Could you kind of shine the light on this? What does this mean for products coming out of the U.S. Mint?
Yeah, the way that the article was written, I saw the article that people are referring to, was that uncirculated coins are going to be raised by $9 an ounce. And I reached out to my representative at the U.S. Mint, and I was told that all of the numismatic coins will be raised by $9 per ounce at midnight on Monday. That is true. But I brought a couple of these to show the difference. First of all, I don't have the tube with me, but the coins that you're mentioning tubes or commercial strike, as they're called, things that they buy from companies like me, come in tubes of 20. They take a piece of silver, it's called a planchet. They stamp it one time, they put it in tubes of 20 and boxes of 500 and send it out to the distributors like myself, who then sell it to the public. You cannot buy those from the U.S. Mint directly. You have to go through a company like mine. So hopefully you can see this. I'm going to show you here in a second. The U.S. Mint on their website, usmint.gov, does sell their numismatic coins. In the case of the proof coin, here's the proof coin. Comes in a box like this. You open it up. It's got some paperwork. And then it has a blue velvet box. And you open up the blue velvet box. And this is what you have. You have a beautiful, shiny coin. A proof coin is stamped 3 times for extra definition. It is polished under an industrial buffer to see your reflection in it, and then put in a box like this and sold for roughly 3 times the value of the silver itself. That is a proof coin. Where the confusion came in was the verbiage of uncirculated. Well, this is an uncirculated coin from the U.S. Mint also. The difference is it comes in a blue box also, but it doesn't have the velvet box. It has the paperwork, 2015, and then it comes like this. So it's more of a collector numismatic coin, but it is not. It is not a proof coin, and it is not the coins that everyone has been buying from all the retail companies like myself over the years. Even though it was titled uncirculated, it's misleading. The U.S. Mint does make those uncirculated coins as well as collector coins, but it is not the commercial strike uncirculated coins that you would buy from a dealer like myself. So those coins aren't going up by $9 an ounce, but the other coins are. And so just to dispel a little bit of confusion, and we've gotten a lot of people asking about it, the coins that everyone else buys will still be a function of spot plus whatever premium the market is trading at that point.
Yeah, thank you so much for the clarification on that. Now, one of the things that some people are asking is, what about the numismatic silver products like you just showed? If people already have those purchased, right, from maybe years before, will those then, do you think they will increase in value, or is it just, the price to buy them is now higher?
No, the price would go up as well if they were selling. It's just across the board. And it wouldn't be a function of date after 2020. No, it would be all of them just have a higher price associated with them. And so, no, that would typically carry over into the secondary market and into the bid price as well. That's a good question.
Now, this viewer is wanting to know, kind of on the same topic of government minted silver coins, what is your perspective on why would people choose government minted silver coins, especially, from the U.S. Mint versus private mints?
There's no right or wrong answer to that. Private mint coins, I guess, are just fine too. It's an unusual circumstance where most of the people who buy precious metals abhor government policy and don't really like government, for that matter, I guess you could say, altogether, or the intrusion of. And yet they prefer government-issued coins for their authenticity, for their liquidity. I've always made kind of an analogy that's somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but it goes like this. You're having a huge family reunion. I know you have a pretty big family, Elijah. I don't know how big your extended family is, but let's just say that you have a huge family reunion for 500 people, and you're in charge of buying the soda. So you're going to go to Costco, and you're going to run down the aisle, and you see Coca-Cola on your right and Kirkland brand on the left. That's the generic brand from Costco. In the end, if your guests are thirsty enough, I'm sure they would be fine drinking the Kirkland, which is 75 cents a can cheaper than the Coca-Cola, times 750. Well, that's a lot of savings that you could apply elsewhere, right? But if they had their druthers, I think they would probably all reach for the Coca-Cola, the name brand. So while in the end, they both drink the same if you're dying of thirst, it's a name brand thing. It's just it's just that it's the same amount of silver, the same purity, the same weight, but one has the United States government or the Canadian government stamped on it, and one has a private refinery. I guess the only other thing that in the back of my mind I could point to is that if you ever were to see counterfeiting, the likelihood of it being in a generic item, to me, would be far greater than in a U.S. or Canadian mint product, because now you're entering counterfeiting, legal tender. You get caught doing that, you're going away for a long time, a lot longer than if you were trying to counterfeit a generic coin. It's a whole different ball of wax when you're counterfeiting United States legal tender or Royal Canadian legal tender, et cetera. That's just kind of as an aside. But the bottom line is simply this. In the end, it's about number of ounces that matter, Elijah. And I would tell people, get as much silver as you can. Don't be penny wise and pound foolish. It is not penny wise and pound foolish to buy 1 ounce silver rounds over silver eagles at all. They're highly sought after. They're liquid. If I had a choice, or if any of you out there listening had a choice, and I walked up to you and said, here's a bowl of generic rounds, here's a bowl of silver eagles, which one would you like? Most people would choose the silver eagles. But I don't think anyone would be unhappy receiving a whole bunch of free 1 ounce silver rounds. So the point is, it's just an issue of recognizability, of being name brand, of being kind of the Cadillac, if you will, of silver choices. But there's nothing wrong with the 1 ounce coins or the generic stuff. Just don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Make sure you buy from a reputable dealer. Make sure you don't go too big in size, never bigger than 100 ounce. And if you're going to buy generic, try to stick with a name brand generic product. Try to stick with something that is at least widely known and sought after, like Silver Buffaloes or name brand companies in the silver bar space. Johnson Matthey, which is now Asahi, Royal Canadian Mint, Pamp Swiss, Perth Mint, etc. And if you do that, Sunshine Mint, etc. If you do that, you'll never run into trouble. But that's a good question too.
Definitely. And this viewer is wanting to know about platinum and your perspective on the platinum price right now. It's low historically. If we look at where it is compared to gold and even palladium, most of the time it's above both of those metals. Right now it's, half of gold's price about, and, maybe a third of palladium's price. I think it's like 2.5. Palladium is like 2.5 as much expensive as platinum, but still historically it should be above both of those. So what do you think? Why is the price so out of whack right now? And are you bullish right now on platinum?
Well, first of all, when we look at palladium, back in the 90s, palladium was used in catalytic converters for unleaded cars. Excuse me, platinum was used in catalytic converters for unleaded cars. And the price got so expensive that I don't remember when, late 90s, early 2000, that the auto manufacturers retrofitted their assembly lines to take palladium, which was typically a third to 25% the price of platinum. And, you could buy palladium for $300-400 an ounce, and platinum was $1,200-1,500, whatever it was. So they said, nuts to that. Let's do palladium. And now, to this day, palladium is used as the catalyst in catalytic converters for unleaded cars, platinum for diesel. Now, if we just look at the diesel gate and the auto side of diesel manufacturing, you could argue that platinum uses have been mitigated tremendously as there is a push to go away from diesel into cleaner burning. In fact, I believe that in Europe there is a law that said by 2025 or somewhere in that neighborhood, 2030, I don't remember exactly, that they would have to pull all diesel engines off the road. And so there is a drive for clean air. And so from that standpoint, platinum's catalytic uses are mitigated. And I could see a time where they go back to platinum instead of palladium, because now you have palladium twice what the price, almost 3 times what the price, I think, of a platinum is. And that's not right. That's out of whack. That is an anomaly. That is an inequity that should not be. So what your listener or reader is getting at is that platinum's out of whack, just like silver's out of whack. It's an anomaly in price. And I will tell you this, Elijah, that every single time I look back at the successful trades that I've made over the last 30 years, and every one of them centers around price anomalies. Every single one, whether it's Swiss francs into gold, whether it's numismatics into bullion, bullion into numismatics, gold into silver, platinum, palladium, whatever it is, the really big hits always come on identifying a price anomaly like the commenter did and exploiting it. So I've been wrong on this for the last year. I've been telling people, if you own palladium, switch it to platinum. I've been wrong. Palladium keeps going. Platinum hasn't. I'd still recommend that. It's an anomaly in price. For 30 years, I've never seen anything like it. It's just an anomaly. So am I bullish on platinum? I am, with one caveat. Platinum is truly an industrial metal. It's used in catalytics, it's used in jewelry, it's used in industry. Same with palladium. Gold and silver have industrial uses, more so silver than gold, but they have monetary history, 6,000 years of monetary history. Platinum and palladium do not. So while they represent great values, platinum does rather, while it is completely undervalued historically in its relationship to platinum and gold, or palladium and gold, excuse me, it doesn't have the history. And so for me, it's a tertiary bet. But from what your commenter is getting at, heck yeah, it's distorted. To throw some money at it right now would not be a bad idea. I am bullish on it. I'm bullish on it with a little bit of what's the word I'm trying to say? I'm not really bullish on it because I'm not sure that it will express itself the way gold and silver will. But I would not argue at all with the logic of putting some money into platinum. It is vastly undervalued. It's along the same lines of silver. I just am concerned that it lacks the monetary history that gold and silver possess.
Definitely. Well, Andy Schectman, thank you so much for your time today. Before we let you go, any last thoughts you'd like to leave with our viewers?
It's interesting. I do want to mention one thing. I went back and looked at some articles that we had written years ago. And in particular, I believe it was called the Golden Week. The Golden Week happens in China, and it happens typically the first week in October. And what it really means is that the Chinese are vacationing. They're celebrating. They're away from their desk. And I went back to 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and almost every single year, we see a waterfall decline in the price of gold and silver within the first few days through the 10th of October, just like we saw. And then you know what happens? It goes straight up. And next time we talk, I'll try to present some charts for you, Elijah, to show you this. But look what's happening today and yesterday. The Chinese are back at work, and what's happening? The price is going straight up. And it's amazing the number of phone calls and emails and articles I read that the bull market's over, that, it's breached these levels and this and that when the price drops. And I think the bottom line is simply this: ignore the noise. Ignore the noise. The price of gold and silver will be markedly higher, in my opinion, by the end of this year. And I don't think you've seen anything yet. The election, all of that stuff is meaningless. The trend for much higher prices in gold and silver is firmly intact. And I will say one last thing that I've said over and over and over and over again for the last year. When the most sophisticated, well-funded, well-informed, influential traders on the globe reclassify gold as the only other tier one asset in the world, when all of the central banks are pulling their gold home from New York and London and Paris, all the central banks, when the big smart industrial investors on the COMEX market are pulling the metal off the exchange, look at what's happening. The future is bright for gold and silver. Ignore the noise. Do not look at the price. Just trust your gut. Things are not right. And I think cost averaging, buying on the dips, don't chase a rally like we see today, but buy on the dip that we saw last week. That is the key to success in any bull market. Any bull market, in any commodity. You buy the dips. If you identify the primary trend, the way the river flows, you buy the dips, you don't chase the rallies, and you hold on and trust your conviction. When we see stocks and bonds trading at single-digit price-to-earnings ratios, paying a 7% dividend, something like that, like it used to be. When we see interest rates paying a higher rate than the rate of inflation, maybe then we'll worry about the bull market and precious metals being over. If I could say one thing into the weekend, trust your gut, trust your eyes, what you see. I appreciate the opportunity to have these conversations with you very much. I'll try to be a little bit more specific in the things that I say and not say even though to me 150 million or $1 billion is the same thing in terms of relative scope when we're talking about how much money a company is making per day. But I understand the viewer's point. We'll try to be a little bit more specific on that. In the meantime, Elijah, keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate working with you and your family. It's really been a blessing, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Definitely. Andrew Schectman, thank you so much for your time. It's been great to talk with you. We'll have you on again next week to talk about, the gold and silver prices and all that with the charts that you were talking about. And also, if people would like to call us, they can call us at 1-800-822-8080. Andy, thank you so much for your time.
Elijah, have a great weekend. Thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you next week.